Welcome back, students. Today we are going to discuss part 6 of Unit 2, that is Unit of Life. So let's begin. But before we start the main lecture, I would like to inform you that the images used in our slides are for education purpose only. We respect intellectual property right of original creator and owner of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this PPT or have any concern, any issue, kindly contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. And in today's video lecture, we are going to discuss difference between prokaryotic eukaryotic cell, plant cell versus animal cell, what is plasma membrane, cell wall, nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, and ribosome organelles of a eukaryotic cell. Okay, so let's start today's lecture. So cell, you know this very well, as we previously also we have discussed it, that cell is a fundamental structural and functional unit of all living organisms, whether it is a bacteria, it is a fungus, it is any type of prokaryote or eukaryote or higher eukaryotes, like tiger or whale or insect or whatever it is. If something is in a living form, cell must be there, right? So it is a fundamental structure and functional unit. Now, some very interesting facts, just very quickly, we will discuss some interesting facts like smallest type of cell, smallest cell. It is mycoplasma. Okay, very commonly these type of questions asked in various competitive examinations. So we must remember these points, as it's a very common question, as well as frequency of related to these type of questions is very high. Okay, so mycoplasma, and what is the size? It is about 0.1 to 0.3 micron in length. Okay, what is the largest type of cell? It is this one, egg ostrich, as egg of ostrich, right? So what is the size? About 130 mm to 170 mm. It's quite big, right? Longest cell, this one, nerve cell, right? And what is the size of a normal bacteria? It range about between 3 to 5 micron. And what is the size of any RBC? About 7 micron in diameter. Means our RBC, human RBC, is comparatively has bigger size as compared to bacteria. Okay, so these are some interesting facts related to cell. Now let's discuss first type of cell, that is prokaryotic cells, and all the type of bacteria comes under this particular category. As you know, this prokaryotic cell doesn't have nucleus. It doesn't have nucleus, only chromosomes. Okay, chromosomes or DNA in a very coiled way, or in a without any membranous organelle. It is just suspended itself in the cytoplasm, right? So prokaryotic cell lack a distinct nucleus and other nucleus as well. Why? Because of the absence of internal membranes. They don't have any membrane bound organelles. Bacteria are the best known prokaryotic organisms, right? And because of the lack of internal membranes in prokaryote, it distinguish prokaryote with from eukaryotes. This is the main difference between prokaryote and eukaryote, right? Eukaryote have all the kind of membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, chloroplast, Golgi complex, है ना? But here there is no membrane bound organelle present, right? And prokaryote cell membrane, the outer covering is the cell membrane, right? So, and this cell membrane is made up of phospholipid. Okay, and this cell membrane actually act as a primary osmotic barrier. It actually maintain what kind of, it allow only certain kind of molecule to come inside the cell. Okay, it doesn't allow all kind of it doesn't have permeability for all kind of molecules, right? So it acts as a osmotic barrier. right? And that's how it is main, a main covering or main defense system who actually maintain the internal environment for its metabolic activity. Okay, and the cytoplasm, this prokaryotic cell cytoplasm contain freely available, these are not bounded one, ribosomes, which carry out protein synthesis. This is directly related to the protein synthesis. Protein synthesis occur where? Ribosomes, right? And a double stranded deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA, right? In the form of chromosome, in circular form or in a coiled form or whatever type of, right? Mainly in a coiled form. As you can see in the previous picture also, this one is the coiled whole big chromosome. Some other extra chromosomal particles are also there as extra chromosomal DNA molecule. This is known as plasmids. Okay, so coiled one, big one, main genetic material, then plasmid, and some, small dotted particles known as ribosome, which is responsible for protein synthesis. This there is a suspended in the cytoplasm. Some flagella are there on the outer surface, right? And inner side, we where is the plasma membrane? Yes, here it is, plasma membrane. And just outside the plasma membrane, sometimes cell wall is there, sometimes it is not there, depends upon the type of bacteria, but mostly bacteria is having cell wall also. And outside the cell wall, capsule is there, which is mucilaginous in nature. Okay, some pillars are also there. So this is the general structure of bacteria. Okay, so here we are discussing about the cell membrane, which acts as a osmotic barrier. It contains this particular cytoplasm contain ribosomes, which carry out in protein synthesis and double-stranded DNA molecule. Many prokaryotes also contain an additional circular DNA, which just now we have seen in previous slide in that picture, that is known as plasmid, or we can say extra chromosomal DNA molecule. Okay, with additional dispensable cell functions such as protein to inactivate antibiotic, because um, they are having antibiotic resistant gene within them. Okay, that's why. And they also show tolerance towards heavy metals as well, and some antibiotics, and these kind of, so they also act as a provide defense of a bacteria towards any kind of awkward situation, okay, or unfavorable situation. So their products actually show some type of soft a type of resistance towards various type of antibiotics, various types of toxic material as well as heavy metals. Okay, so some prokaryotes have flagella, just now we have seen. Okay, flagella. Prokaryotic flagella are distinguished in design and movement from the flagella found in eukaryotes. Okay, okay, this one is comparatively longer. So this is quite different than eukaryote one. Now, eukaryotic cell, we can classify eukaryotic cell in two different types, plant cell and animal cell. Both type of cells comes under the same category, eukaryotic cell, right? So both plant and animal cells are eukaryote. Yes, these both of them are in this particular category, eukaryotic category. So they both are having, or they both contains membrane bound organelles like nucleus, like mitochondria, like Golgi complex, like endoplasmic reticulum, and so on. However, plant cell and animal cell do not look the same and have all same organelles, as since they each have different needs. What kind of different needs? For example, plant cell contain chloroplast. For what? To synthesize their own food through a process known as photosynthesis. But there is no need to synthesize their own food in animal cells. They simply consume plants for their needs, right? So chloroplast is present only in plant cell, right? So according to their needs. As we compare, if we compare this plant cell with this animal cell, you can see lot of difference. This is plant cell, so this is green in color. And why this is green in color? Because of the presence of chloroplast. These chloroplasts present in animal cell? No. Right. So this plant cell is having a big central vacuole. Is it present over here in animal cell? No. No big central vacuole, but small vacuoles are there. Small, so many vacuoles are there in animal cells. Right. This is having cell wall on the outer surface, while in animal cell there is no cell wall. Right. So these kind of difference is there between plant cell and animal cell. Okay, according to their need, they some is having a kind of organelle, some is not having that kind of organelle. Okay, so plant cells, like animal cells, are eukaryotes, meaning they have membrane bound organelles like nucleus and you know nucleus, mitochondria, and endoplasmic reticulum. This a plant cell wall is there, which is outside the just after it is present just after the cell membrane. So the cell wall surrounds the cell membrane. Okay, and this give plant cell its unique rectangular shape. Okay, unique rectangular shape, while animal cell simply having cell membrane. Animal cell doesn't have any kind of cell. Right. Plant cell wall are composed of cellulose. Plant cell wall are composed of cellulose, which set them apart from other organisms with cell wall. Like in some bacteria, cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. So as in prokaryote also cell wall is there, just now I told you. But the content, okay, type of molecule is different than plant cell. Plant cell is made up of cellulose by type of biomolecules, macromolecules, while in bacteria peptidoglycan is there, in fungi chitin is there. Okay, so this is the difference. Another important characteristic that this plant cell is having a one central large vacuole, already I told you, and this vacuole act as a storage organelles for different kind of food particles, right? And that's why it store food, and it also involve in some other kind of functions. Now broadly, just we can compare plant cell with animal cell. Plant cell, it is having a rigid cell wall, which is made up of cellulose, while cell wall is absent in animal cell. Okay, this one is large in size as compared to animal cell. This one is smaller in size as compared to plant cell. Chloroplast is present. Here, chloroplast is absent. Right? A large central vacuole is there, while in animal cell, only so many small vacuoles are there. Right. Glyoxysomes may be present. Glyoxysomes may be present in plant cell, why this one is absent in animal cell. Right. Cytoskeleton doesn't contain intermediate fiber, does not contain intermediate fiber, while in animal cell this cytoskeleton contain intermediate fiber. Okay, reserve food in plant cell store their food in the form of starch, in the form of fat, while in animal cell, food is stored mainly in the form of glycogen, this and fat. Okay, so this is the main comparison between plant cell and animal cell. Now, cell wall, this is only present, this particular type of outer covering is present only in plant cell, and this is a very rigid structure which actually support the cell and give its structure also, rectangular structure. And this cell wall is made up of different material. Some cell wall is made up of complex sugar known as cellulose, while animal cell doesn't have any cell wall, which already we have discussed. And just after the cell wall there is another membrane which is present in both plant cell as well as animal cell, and this cell membrane is known as plasma membrane. Okay, This plasma membrane or cell membrane is these cell membranes are composed of fatty acids, based lipid and protein. That's why we can call the term phospholipids. Okay, the membrane lipids are of two types, phospholipids and sterols. Generally cholesterol. Okay, both type the both types share the defining characteristic of lipid. They dissolve readily in organic solvent, but in addition to this, they both have a reason that is attractive and soluble in water. Okay, they are also, so this is about the lipid type phospholipid. Okay, and they this plasma membrane also contains protein, membranous protein. Two type of membranous proteins. One type is known as extrinsic protein. It is loosely attached by ionic bond and calcium bridge. Okay, and it can also attach to the second type of protein called intrinsic protein. So two type of proteins, a kind of protein which are only present on the outer surface of this lipid bilayer, okay, known as extrinsic protein, and some another type of protein is known as intrinsic protein, which totally embedded into that lipid bilayer and float within that lipid bilayer. Okay, so this firmly embedded within the phospholipid bilayer. In general, membrane actively involved in metabolism contain a high proportion of protein. Okay, and this is the plasma membrane, which are having different type of transporter molecules, import, antiport. This because all the type of molecule, any type of cell doesn't allow, it only allows some kind of molecule to come inside and outside the cell, and there is a very important role. This is the very important role of plasma membrane, which we already discussed in our previous lecture. Okay, now here you can see the fluid mosaic model of plasma membrane, which was given by Singer and Nicholson. And as you can see over here, this lipid bilayer is having fatty acid tail region present inside the membrane, and polar head region on the outside the membrane, which is known as hydrophilic end. Okay, and in this lipid bilayer, some proteins are embedded inside the lipid bilayer, known as integral protein or intrinsic protein, while some proteins are just present on the outer surface, known as extrinsic protein or peripheral protein. Okay, this plasma membrane also contains some carbohydrate molecules or sugar side molecule, which are attached to the intrinsic or extrinsic membrane. Okay, so and some cholesterol molecules are also present. Okay, so this is the structure of plasma membrane. Now, cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is the semi-fluid substance of a cell that is external to the nuclear membrane and internal to the cellular membrane. Okay, and that's why we can also use the term non-nuclear content of protoplasm. For what? For cytoplasm. Non-nuclear content of protoplast, obviously that is cytoplasm, right? So in eukaryotes, the cytoplasm contain all the organelles like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, and some other all kind of organelles are present inside the cytoplasm. Okay, so first one is nucleus. Let's start organelles discussion with nucleus. This one was discovered by Robert Brown in 1831, and this is nucleus, right? It separates rest of the cell by a double layer known as nuclear envelope. This one is nuclear envelope, as you can see. Okay, this one is nuclear envelope. Okay, and this membrane seems to be continue with the endoplasmic reticulum. What is this? This is endoplasmic reticulum, right? So this membrane seems to be continuous with endoplasmic reticulum, and this Nuclear envelope is having some kind of pores also, which actually permit the entrance of some large molecule inside the nucleus. Okay. And inside the nucleus, as you can see, this is the nuclear envelope. These are the nuclear poles. Inside the nucleus, there is a again gel-like structure. Again, some semi-fluid-like structure, which is known as nucleoplasm. Okay, and inside the nucleus, all the nuclear control and regulations of activity. Actually, this nucleus is what is the role of nucleus? It actually control different kind of activities, different kind of growth parameters, and all the metabolic activity, we can say, because this nucleus contains chromosome and chromosome contains genes. Okay, and these genes contains all the type of genetic information, right? So and there are nuclei which is present in the nucleus, nucleoli. These are the small bodies often seen within the nucleus, and the gel like structure which just now I have circulated is known as nucleoplasm, right? Okay, now the next one is endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so just now we have seen just two slides back, we have seen this picture, right? And this is the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, this one is the smooth one because it doesn't have ribosomes present on its outer surface, while this one is rough endoplasmic reticulum because this one is having ribosome present on its outer surface. Okay, it is a membranous system within the cytoplasm of eukaryotic cell. It is important in the synthesis of protein as well as lipid. This is the main function. This ER or endoplasmic reticulum usually make up more than half of membrane of the cell and is continuous with the outer membrane of the nuclear envelope. This just now we have already discussed. So two type of endoplasmic reticulum, rough one, RER and SER. RER, rough endoplasmic reticulum, SER, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And this endoplasmic reticulum is actually connected flattened sac parts of continuous membrane or organelle within the cytoplasm of eukaryotic cell. This rough endoplasmic reticulum, rough appearance, why? Because of the presence of ribosomes, and this is the main site where this is the main site where protein synthesis occur. Okay, and this rough endoplasmic reticulum lies immediately adjacent to the cell's nucleus, and its membrane is continuous with the outer membrane of nuclear envelope. It plays a central role in the synthesis of protein. The ribosomes present on rough endoplasmic reticulum is specialized in the synthesis of protein that possess signal sequences and direct them specifically to endoplasmic reticulum for the processing of protein. Okay, while smooth endoplasmic reticulum is not associated with ribosome, that's why we can use the term smooth for them, while it is involved in the synthesis of lipid. This is the main function. Okay, including cholesterol, phospholipid, production of some non-cellular membranes. Okay, smooth endoplasmic reticulum also play an important role in the synthesis of steroid hormone. Okay, from cholesterol in some kind of cells, and it is also contributed in the detoxification of drug and detoxification of some harmful chemicals. So rough endoplasmic reticulum is only involved in protein synthesis, while smooth is involving in the synthesis of lipid, steroid hormone, as well as detoxification of drug and chemicals. Okay, clear? Let's move. Ribosomes. So these ribosomes are present in large number in all living cells and serve as a site for protein synthesis. Ribosome occur in as a free particle as well as it is also present on the surface of endoplasmic reticulum. That's why we can use the term rough endoplasmic reticulum, right? So ribosomes actually are made up of ribosomal protein and RNA, ribosomal RNA. So protein and RNA, right? So in prokaryotes, ribosome are roughly 40% protein. So 40% protein plus 60% RNA. By this trick, we can learn this. Okay, 40-60 PR. Okay, 40% protein while 60% RNA. Now, our ribosome is made up of from complex RNA and protein and is therefore we can use the term ribonucleoprotein. And around 37 to 60% of RNA is comprises of RNA and rest is protein. Okay, each ribosome is divided into two subunit. Okay, two subunit. This one is the big and this one is the smaller one. This is smaller one and this one is the big one. And this smaller unit is actually bind with the bigger unit and with the mRNA, while the larger subunit it actually bind with the smaller subunit and the transverse RNA and the amino acids, right? Okay, so you can compare the ribosome. This one is the smaller unit, okay, and this one is the bigger unit. And the type of ribosome present in the prokaryotes, it's 70S type, while in eukaryotes it's 80S type. Okay, if we further divide these subunits of 50 S subunit and 30S subunit, then 50S contains 5S subunit, 23S subunit, while type of RNA present in 30S is 16S, right? Similarly, so we can say 50S and 30S, 50, 30. These are the subunits present in 70S RNA, means prokaryotic RNA, while in 80S, 60 by 40 is present in 80S RNA, means eukaryotic RNA. You can also understand this concept over here, that the smaller subunit is present in the lower side, bigger one is present on the upper side, and this smaller subunit is bind with the mRNA, while the upper one is bind with the smaller subunit. Both the subunit bind to each other, and bigger one is also bind with transfer RNA time to time when translation process occur. Okay. So in eukaryotes, ribosome are about half protein and half ribosomal RNA. And this ribosome are usually made up of 3 or 4 ribosome molecule. Okay, each ribosome is composed of two subunit, a larger one and the smaller one. The subunit type is measured in Swedenborg unit or S. The smaller and larger subunit of eukaryote are designed as 40S and 60S respectively. Okay. The ribosome is a complex molecule mechanism found in all living cells that serve as a site for protein synthesis, or we can say translation. Right? Ribosome link amino acid together in order to specified by the mRNA. Right? Ribosome also act as a catalyst in two extremely important biological processes called peptidyl transferase and peptidyl hydrolysis, right? So what is the main function of ribosome? Protein synthesis. Okay, so this is all about of today's video lecture, in which we have discussed some organelles present in a typical cell. Okay, still you are having if you are having any concern, any issue related to this topic, any doubt, you can write down to me comment box. We will discuss it later on. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Namaskar.